Hey guys, it's Leon Rage on Tom Clancy's Division, showing you the Dead Sentry build. Now, I normally use this build whenever I need to play either support or maybe a Firearms DPS. So as you can see on the top, I have 8,000 firearms, 3,000 stamina, and 2,000 electronics. My skill power is not that high, my toughness is moderate, I guess. And firepower, don't even worry about the firepower for any primary or secondary. But today we are using the 3-piece Sentry and 2-piece Deadeye. No Tactician today. So going into the Sentry builds, it's rolled under Firearms with 8% skill haste, 15,000 health, 50% ammo capacity. What the Sentry Call does is it gives you 30% accuracy, 10% headshot damage, and anytime you use a semi-automatic weapon and you hit an enemy, it marks them with this little blue indicator. You can mark them up to 3 times. Each of the 3 marks is a 5% increased damage that they take for 30 seconds. So it's always good to have, especially if you like using marksman rifles, or if you're lucky and you got the exotic urban MDR. This is really good to have. So that way you and the rest of your team, or even if you just go solo, you can melt through enemies a little bit quicker. Going into the mods for the vest, we have firearms with health, and more firearms with health. Going into the holster, we have 7,000 health, and the mod, first aid self-heal. Into the knee pads, we have firearms, 12,000 skill power, 29% bleed resistance, 31% shock resistance, and 15% damage to elites. For the mods, I put stamina and health, and the first aid self-heal. And the reason why I put a lot of stamina and health is because you don't want to be a glass cannon. So you want to be able to at least take some damage while you're on the move. Or if you want to be the glass cannon, you can just ignore all the stamina, put more firearms if you want. Or maybe you want to be having more abilities. But normally what this build I use for is just mainly support, so I'm always usually in the back. Now for the Deadeye. The Deadeye mask, rolled under firearms, 9,000 skill power, 14% bleed resistance. And the reason why I choose Deadeye is because it's pretty good to have whenever you have a marksman rifle user. Like, I always use marksman rifles in practically every single one of my builds. So it's always good to have someone that's usually hitting from a long range. And I don't go past the 3-set bonus. I've tried the 4-set. I don't have enough for the 5 or 6. But I honestly wasn't too pleased with it. It was okay, but I prefer just going with 3-piece, just so that I can get the initial bullet stability and more critical hit damage on my marksman rifle. And for the mods, I have stamina and health. Into the gloves, rolled under firearms with 14% critical hit damage, 5% critical hit chance, and 7.5 enemy armor damage. And this time for the backpack, still under firearms. Of course, you already know it's 13,000 health, 17% bleed resistance. For the mods, stamina and health, first aid self-heal, and first aid self-heal. And normally I like using my urban MDR, and for the most part I do use the SOCOM, just so that way it can be a little more fast-paced with shooting. I also use the urban MDR, which is very good to have, especially if you're trying to get these quick shots in. Now, anything that's semi-automatic, like a pistol, the urban MDR, or any marksman rifle, you're always going to mark the target regardless, or I think if it's a headshot only, if I'm not mistaken. No, it's actually whenever you hit the target. I usually just always try hitting them in the head, so that way I know that they're going to be marked. It could be changed. I could be wrong. But to save time for the video, I'll be doing the hospital mission, which is probably the easiest one in the game. And I'll be doing it on a hard difficulty because it doesn't have challenging. So let's see how this build goes.
We've got a lot of hostiles inside, Agent. They're holding Dr. Candle and her staff. We need those personnel back at the base so we can get the medical wing functional.
We'll hold here to cover your back. Then we'll escort the medical personnel when you retrieve them. Kill them! Get this over with!
Okay, so it is with headshots. So that's the only way you can mark the enemy. Oh, that was a headshot, but couldn't really see the damage. See, there's one. Normally that would take a while. So now that enemy upstairs takes 10% more.
If you patch me into the security system, I might be able to find Candle's location.
So yeah, when using the dead sentry, or even sentry's call in general, you always want to make sure that you go for the headshots first to mark the enemy. This kind of also makes it easier in case some of them are taking cover and they like playing peekaboo a lot. So, always good to mark the targets so that we can take priority in taking out the heavier armor or the harder hitting enemies.
Additional hostiles detected. Additional hostiles detected. Warning. Additional hostiles detected.
Candle and her staff is still upstairs, stashed in the kitchen at Kobe's. Word is that they've really trashed the place. It would have broken my dad's heart to see it go to hell like this. We used to watch games there together. I think it's better my folks didn't live to see any of this. But then I think about all the people doing their best to keep going. That's who we do this for, Agent. Go get them. To get to Kobe's, you'll have to pass by some contaminated areas. There used to be plenty of sick people being treated there. before they got shot. So be careful.
And I'm not worried about the JTF. You ain't got a chance. Come on, take care of it. Do what you need to do. You lost? Oh, hell, they got him! This is over with! It's a clear shot! Fuck out of here! It's over right now! Don't waste no ammo, guys! More ammo! Do what you need to do! Oh, shit! Taking so long! Need more ammo! You lost? Careful, guys! Oh, hell, they got him!
Keep your heads down and keep it quiet.
Warning. Hostiles detected.
Oh my god! Focus, focus!
The escort party's taking heavy fire from the roof. They can't move until you get up there and take down that gunner.
We're pinned down! There's no way we'll make it across alive unless someone can get up there and take out the big guns!
All yours, Agent. Alpha Escort, we have an agent on the roof. Has Candle made it to your position?
Affirmative. She and her staff just arrived. As soon as the hostiles on the roof are gone, we'll get her across safely. Got the medics safely across. Candle and all staff accounted for. No casualties.
We're off to a good start, agents. Wish I could have had your back out there, but I think we make a hell of a team anyway. When you get back to the base, we'll talk to Candle, and we'll see what she can do for us.